Now what will it be? Death or exile?
What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Film Exiles podcast, and this is part 4 of our countdown to the Snyder Cut. Guys, we are on the highway, zooming 100 miles per hour, weaving in and out of traffic, going to our viewing location. We're in the home stretch now, and I hope you can hear the excitement in my voice. My hype levels are on 100 trillion, thousand, million. And I'm happy to be joined today on this episode with 3 of my favorite people, my homies, my Justice League of heroes, coming at you from their secret lairs. So let's, bring them in one by one. Coming up is the man with the plan. I hope you understand, is Christian.
What's up, Lupe? Dude, it's good to be looking forward to shit. I love this. I love having stuff to look forward to.
It really is. In this age of pandemic and COVID, we need joy wherever we can.
Damn right.
For sure. All right. And then coming at us is another superhero with his arms akimbo, looking up to the sky. And also he wears his underwear on the outside. So you guys, it's fine. It's Paul, Mr. Positivity.
Hey, I thought you were talking about Brandon there with the underwear on the outside.
Whoa.
You have to wear underwear for them to be on the outside.
This is going down
right.
fast.
Yes, like you guys said, it's nice to have something to look forward to. I'm having trouble keeping up with it all, to be quite honest. It's been a busy couple of weeks for me, and I'm falling behind. Also, not wanting to get spoiled, and can't wait for this to get here because this is something we've been anticipating for a long, long time.
I know, and it's just a few days left. And so if we have superheroes, we have Christian, who is the man with the plan, and also he's immune to COVID or well on his way. We have Paul, Mr. Positivity, Mr. Force, Hope, and Optimism. He wears his underwear on the outside. So all you Superman nostalgia fans, you'll be happy with him. We have like our kind of anti-hero, and our anti-hero of the bunch is the Kansas Mafia, Brandon.
That's me. Underwear on the no side.
Commando.
Hey, man, when you live in Kansas, the mafia dictates.
Exactly. There you go. All right, guys. So, we're just a couple days out from the Snyder Cut at this moment. It's a little less than a week. So we have a bunch of things to talk about today. We're going to go really honing on the marketing and all the issues, the excitement about it, the buzz. We're going to analyze it, and I think we're going to have a fun episode. We're going to talk about, all the promotion, interviews, character teasers, the last trailer that we got, the Hashflags. We're going to talk about the issue with, the virtual premiere invites. We're going to talk about bloggers getting access to it. We're going to talk about the role of WB and HBO Max. We're also going to talk about the leak that happened, and we're going to have fun with that. So without further ado, let's get right into our discussion. So the first thing that we're going to discuss, just to set the table, is, about a month ago or a month or two ago, there was a little bit of consternation and chagrin, and, everybody was feeling some kind of way about the marketing for the Snyder Cut. Everybody was feeling like Warner Brothers was intentionally sabotaging the film. They weren't putting their best foot forward. It was January. The Snyder Cut was only, 6 weeks out even, and we hadn't seen like a new trailer, billboards, posters, nothing. It was a desolate wasteland. The only things we were getting were our constant feed from Zack Snyder. He's been feeding us that drip for years, making sure that we weren't starving, and dropping hints here and there. And obviously us as fans organizing trending events and just keeping that flag, waving You know, so guys, I want each of you to talk about, that point in time and where your mind was at, what you were ready to do, what your thoughts were towards like Zack Snyder, the studio, the fandom, and was there any validity to the suspicion that the fandom had towards the studio? So we'll start with Brandon.
I mean, yeah, it was kind of a quiet few months for the Snyder Cut, just kind of waiting for any kind of promotion to kick in, because we were told they were going to be marketing this like a whole new movie and they were going to put everything into it. And it was just quiet. And we're used to movies starting to get advertisement months and months in advance. And obviously our first reaction as Snyder fans is to look at the studio and say, what are you trying to do this time? It did finally start to kick into gear more at the beginning of this month, obviously. But it has kind of been one thing after another, with something that appears there's more going on behind the scenes to sabotage this. With, every trailer has been leaked early to the, what we'll talk about later, the whole movie getting leaked early, to all kinds of things. You're just like, there's no way this is an accident anymore, that somebody at Warner Brothers wants this movie to get ignored or to flop or whatever. So I'd say we were absolutely validated that on some level the studio doesn't want this out, but Zach, being a one-man hype machine, has been able to keep it going. And I feel bad for him because he looks exhausted, but he's putting his entire heart into this for the fans. And even the people that aren't fans yet, hoping that they'll finally see his vision. And I mean, we're almost there and we've survived it, but we've definitely learned that the enemy is still there.
Yeah, agree. Christian, as like a sort of impartial judge, what do you think of the situation? I know you heard a lot of what the fans were saying about marketing.
Yeah, I can't pretend like I haven't been aware of like what my mutuals are saying and what fans are, even in some of the comic book communities that I'm in, a lot of those guys are Snyder Cut fans. They've been part of the movement. So, that conversation has started to permeate all of the little talks that we're having and everything. But just stepping back for a moment and seeing how a lot of movies are getting marketed even in the streaming era, which is different than the theatrical era and COVID world. This seemed a little strange. I know, HBO Max wants to drive up subscriptions. That's what they want. They've been pretty good about it. They have, I think it's their banner now on a lot of their social media, within Twitter and Facebook and stuff. So it's their banner. They answer fans when fans talk with them. They've been very active. Whoever is running their social media is doing a very good job with that. And not just with this, but of course with Godzilla versus Kong and stuff like that. But so they've done a good job here. But the studio, so if we're going to say the studio, Warner Media, it's kind of been a blackout. And it's strange because, like, take WandaVision for an example that I just finished watching. Dude, they doubled down on that shit. That stuff, we got trickles of stuff going back months and months. And then in the month or two leading up to it, of course, like every other property, there's this explosion of marketing. But like Brandon just said, it was almost like media silence leading up to that month for this product. And that's really weird. So like I cannot pretend like I understand every conspiracy theory. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I've read every single one of them. I've watched people talk about them, and it starts to get really hard to ignore them when you see this. It's very weird. There has been, I got to admit, there has absolutely been an explosion of marketing over the last month. We're going to talk about where that's all coming from later. But it's just weird that this thing got announced. There was a hype machine. There was a dearth of information, and now all of a sudden we're into it. It's just, I don't know. It felt like it was fits and starts instead of an actual planned out campaign.
Yeah, agree. Paul, what did you think when we were 6 weeks out to release, and even the official Twitter page of the Zack Snyder's Justice League was not active, was doing nothing?
Yeah, it's so. I mean, you guys have covered it, I think, but like, I remember at some point somebody tweeted the Justice League account, like the actual Zack Snyder's Justice League Twitter account, said, "Hey, maybe you guys could wake up." Like, I think they said the Doom Patrol account's doing a better job of promoting this than you are, and and then they did wake up. Woke up to the point actually that it made me wonder who was actually running the account, because they were finding tweets from recognizable faces in the fandom and retweeting them even when they weren't tagged, and there weren't necessarily even hashtags associated with the tweets. And so they woke up, and they woke up in a big way. The marketing, I think, has been pretty consistent over the last month, like really since that Valentine's Day trailer. It's been pretty nonstop, to the point that I've had a hard time actually keeping up with it. It's almost overwhelming, as someone that actually wants to keep up on it, I can barely keep up on all the all the marketing that's coming out. But like you guys have said, Warner Brothers has been notably absent. Aside from these leaks, I wouldn't necessarily say they were intentionally sabotaging it. I feel like it's more hands off. Like, you guys got your movie, you promote it, we're staying out of this, and that's kind of what I'd expect given the strained relationship, right? The only real downside to that, of course, is that Warner Brothers accounts have a bigger reach built in, right? Like, they've got bigger subscriber bases. They can reach more people just based on their subscriberships alone. But then that kind of stuff's been handled through, going with IGN, right? For example, the Zack Snyder appearance at IGN Fanfest. I mean, they've got a huge reach, so that kind of makes up for that a little bit. So I don't feel the marketing's been lacking. I mean, they had a tie-in just recently with the show with the nerds. Somebody help me out here. The Big Bang Theory. They had
Yes.
a contest with them,
Yeah.
right? So it's out there, right? Apparently there's been TV spots. I don't really watch TV anymore, so I don't know, but I've heard people mention TV spots. I mean, Twitter's been nonstop between the HBO accounts, the Zack Snyder's Justice League account, Zack Snyder himself, and the fandom. I mean, you can't escape it. So I think it's been pretty pretty good and pretty consistent for the last month. Obviously Warner Brothers notably absent. The leaks are certainly suspicious. I mean, especially this. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's it feels like Warner Brothers as a whole is trying to sabotage this, but clearly there's someone in there that's up to something, right? Like with the Tom and Jerry movie. I mean, that movie had been out on HBO Max for a while now, and all of a sudden it starts playing Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, that seems fishy. I mean, obviously I don't know how their system works, but it seems fishy, right? So there's been and everything is leaked, as Brandon pointed out, right? Like, it's not this isn't the first thing that leaked. I can't think of something that hasn't leaked, to be quite honest. So someone's up to something behind the scenes. It's not good. But other than that, I don't really have anything more to add.
Yeah. I think one thing that's sort of like ringing true and the through thread from everybody is that there is definitely distrust between the fans and the studio. And what I will compare it to is that in these COVID times, when we're trying to get everyone immunized to a point where, society can go back to, being quasi-normal, Black people notoriously are suspicious of getting immunized and that sort of thing. And a lot of people wonder why and think that's just some like sort of weird, maybe superstition but it comes from, years of trauma from like Tuskegee experiments in which the government, experimented on Black people, by, giving them drugs and telling them it was safe. But meanwhile, it was, infecting them and doing all these things. So there is validity, to that. You have to humanize with people and not say, oh, they're weirdos or they just believe in conspiracy theories. No, there's a reason why. There's a history there. So while it's easy to look at DC fans and say that, oh, it's just conspiracy theories and they're too suspicious, there's a reason why. This is a studio that has lied to their fans, that told them that Joss Whedon, was handpicked by Zack Snyder, that Justice League, Justice L, as I like to call it because it was a big L, was, going to bring Zack Snyder's true vision to theaters, So that distrust is the fault of the studio. And so fans are now on their toes about everything. So with that being said, I think it's a good segue into this leak that happened with Tom and Jerry, in which reportedly an hour of the entire movie was leaked, and it was available for anyone who clicked on the Tom and Jerry movie on HBO Max's platform. So
luckily, it wasn't
guys,
many people.
Could you repeat that?
So, which luckily wasn't many people.
Which luckily, but I want to know, what do you guys think of that leak? Do you think it was an innocent mistake? Are you suspicious? What do you think the impact of it is? So let's start with Brandon on that.
I mean, I don't like coming off as a conspiracy theorist. And if the other trailers hadn't have leaked and they hadn't have moved Kong versus Godzilla up 3 months or 2 months to the exact same day the Snyder Cut was supposed to come out, I could say, hey, this is probably just a mistake. Somebody messed up in the computer. It happens. And I mean, obviously, it very, very rarely ever happens. But this is just another thing that has happened to this movie. Obviously going back to 2017 and the lies and, through this whole process, the studio lying and attacking its fans and trying to shut us up and trying to stop it from happening, to all of a sudden now, I don't know how the computer streaming system works, but I imagine that the file name for Tom and Jerry and Zack Snyder's Justice League are not the same. And I don't know how you can mix up a 90-minute kids movie and a 4-hour R-rated comic book movie. Especially when Tom and Jerry's already been out for 10 days. How does that happen?
Let's say, why would you be meddling with the file anyway at that point,
Yeah.
right?
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever that this was an accident. And like I said, if it had been smooth sailing from the day it was announced to now, that would make sense. But it's obvious that the things have gone downhill with even Zach and Warner Brothers from the original articles that came out. He was happy talking about them. He was giving Emmerich praise, and now it's obvious that things are not going well between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I'm on the side that I think it had to have been purposeful to some extent.
Okay. Christian, what do you think?
It's hard. Brandon said he nailed it on a lot of points. It's very difficult to take a counter stance to that. File architecture, file infrastructure, mapping, things like that are actually easier for people to screw up than we think they are.
Mm-hmm.
However,
that's what QA is for, Christian. Don't that's what you got a QA team for?
You're right. No, you're not wrong, Paul. You're not wrong. It's just it's a lot easier to screw this up when you don't give a crap about the property that you're releasing. And I think that might be where some of this comes into play. They want to wash their hands of this so bad. At least that's the general consensus I seem to get. I don't pretend to have inside information, but it seems like there wants to be this, we're done. Get it out of there, and we're never going to support a thing that he does ever again. We're not releasing any of these movies into theaters ever again. Fuck this, we're finished. So I could see it more of it being a just complete colossal, negligence almost. They just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see it. But it's easy to look at it from the other perspective.
No, that's a very valid explanation for things. I mean, a lot of times that happens in life, and if you think about it, whoever is the technician, whoever it is, the analyst, whoever it is that's working on the platform, this is not a high level executive who's inputting this. So it's likely that it was just a mistake. But however, there is this thing about organizational structure and the way attitudes permeate through organizations, to the point where if executives are quite shitty and flippant and have negative energy towards the Snyder Cut, it's possible that employees pick up on that. And so they're, more flippant and less careful and less conscientious when it comes to dealing with the material, just because of the toxic work environment that has been built around that property. That is a real thing. People make mistakes and commit, acts of omission and acts of error when subconsciously they don't care as much about what it is they're doing, or there's a level of antagonism towards that thing in particular. So that could be that. And as you guys have also noted, it's very easy to be suspicious because it's not the first time there've been like, if this was the first time, then we can, okay. But trailers, not just one trailer has leaked, two trailers have leaked before their premiere time. So
I think that's the problem. Like my gut's going in one direction, but unfortunately, it's the boy who cried wolf syndrome. So even though like my gut's pulling me in one direction, I'm kind of starting to think that the other side is right.
absolutely,
it's how many other movies have they screwed up like this, right?
Exactly.
That's the point.
It's gotten to the point where if you're having faith that, oh no, it's all good, it's almost like you're ignoring actual evidence, like you're ignoring a track record of evidence just to, have faith and be positive, which is fine.
Wonder Woman has been finished for a year. How did that not leak out? The movie's been done for a long time.
None of the trailers leaked. No
Godzilla vs. Kong has been done for 6 months, 8 months. That didn't leak.
Actually,
even the last Godzilla
that had a trailer leak, though. Actually, to be sincere, Mortal Kombat has had a trailer leak, and also Godzilla vs. Kong has had a trailer leak as well. So we can also say that we see it happen to some other big properties, and that could be something that we put for a counter argument or devil's advocate to balance things out. But let's move on to today. Okay, the stage has been set. Marketing wasn't so great in the past, but now, ever since the last trailer, things have revved up, and we're on the super highway to the Snyder Cut. So let's start, talking in depth and just geeking out, nerding out, and having fun with all the bits of promo and marketing that we've had. So we've discussed the trailer in the past. We can touch on that lightly, but just from a, God's eye point of view, a macro point of view, I want you guys to talk about the different aspects of the promo that have that you feel have been very impressionable or have made an impact on you or you like. So that would include the first trailer. Then we've had articles. Zack Snyder has kept on posting images. We've had IGN Fanfest. Zack Snyder was on there. We also had the Mother Box Origins. Grace has had interviews. We had the Dallas Art Gallery exhibition, which had Zack Snyder's 5 movie story arc. We've had a lot of stuff with AFSP. We've had Zack Snyder win an award with the Hollywood Critics Association. We've had toys from McFarlane, Funko Pop Weta Studio. We have Footaction t-shirts, and I'm running out of breath. It's been a lot. And so let's start with Brandon. Just pick a few of these and just, analyze, get excited, and tell us, what you think about the way the marketing is going now, and if you appreciate it or if you actually hate it.
Well, from a completely selfish aspect, I've loved a lot of the articles and even like the IGN Fanfest. I've loved having to see these people that have shit on Zach for the last few years have to eat crow and interview him and be nice to him because the fans won and forced them to have to do that. And some people are getting mad that they get the chance, and I think it's funny, especially seeing Zach win an award, because that just triggered some people. And then was it Scott Mendelson was right after, looking creepy as fuck, and you knew that it really bugged him that he had to be on a show giving Zack Snyder an award. That's great to me. But as far as the other promotions go, it's cool reading these articles. Debbie's articles have been really good. I can't wait to start seeing some of the cast interviews coming up. But Connie Nelson just did a really cool interview with Collider a couple of days ago.
Oh, that was amazing. That was
very,
emotional.
very touching.
She gets it. Connie, you guys, if you're listening to this, please, you need to go, after you listen to her podcast, of course, go over to Collider, and I think it's like in the section they call Ladies Night, and it's Connie Nielsen. And one thing is that us as fans, we feel we're misunderstood a lot, and we feel that the heart of this whole movement is misunderstood. Connie Nielsen gets the emotional heart of it. Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, it's just that, and the empathy for another human being that we just haven't seen since since Zach had to step away. You may think that we're toxic, but we've had to put up with the just meanest people making fun of him. Absolute tragedy to a very nice person. And just seeing something, Connie Nelson is just such a sweetheart to Zach. And that's just, it's refreshing to see. And it's good to see that. I mean, it's obviously the people Zach surrounds himself with are great people. And they all have a very awesome loyalty to him. And that's what makes you love Zach even more, is that the people around him love him. And it's not in a cult-like fashion. It's just that they recognize he's a good dude.
Absolutely. What do you think about the toys? Because I know that you're into that. So what do you think about the action figures?
They just approved the second stimulus today, or third stimulus, and it's gone. And it's gone. I've been ordering the Funko Pops. I've ordered 2 of the McFarlane figures. The McFarlane ones, the actual hero figures are kind of ugly, but I ordered Darkseid and Steppenwolf, and they look great. But the Funkos are where I'm really excited for them to keep announcing. And Superman is up on Monday, so I'm going to have to get that one, absolutely, for sure. But I can't wait to see, what more is coming up. But the toys are, I can leave everything in the box. I'm a big collector. But now we're starting to get into the ultra premium stuff from Sideshow Collectibles and Weta Workshop. And their stuff is awesome, but it's going to be pricey. And when they show something off with a black suit Superman with glowing eyes, I might just go broke.
Just go for it, yeah. So let's go on to Christian. Christian, from all the sort of miscellaneous promo that's been going on, especially as someone with a very high line, top down view of the whole situation, what has grabbed your attention in the lead up to the Snyder Cut?
So one of the things that I'll mention this as an aside. I'll try to make it quick. But one of the things I've always told you guys is that I think that the movement and everybody really needs to highlight what was done for suicide prevention. That really needs to be something that I think needs to continue to be highlighted, to be brought to the forefront. It needs to be part of the conversation of this movie forever. And it was just nice to see the award come through for Zach. It's nice to see some of the articles that have been written out there about Deborah, him, and his daughter. And I think that that's really important. And let's keep the focus on mental health, the focus on depression, things like that. Suicide is very real. So I like that. And I think it's great that we've gotten some of that. But from a marketing / comic book perspective, I like the fact there's 2 things that have really jumped out at me. The number one, I guess you could call them like the character teasers that we've got. Especially the Superman one. I was sold on the Superman one.
Wait. Hold on. We'll get into that.
Yeah,
that's a brilliant idea. We're gonna have a section in which we'll get into those. So just for now, in terms of interviews, in terms of any images you've seen, like T-shirts, that sort of thing, any images that Zach posted, is there anything else that has really? And I'm very curious about this because for us who are fans in the space, we gobble up every single thing. But I'm wondering, has anything broken through? Did you listen to the IGN Fanfest interview? And if you didn't, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. Did any of the tidbits that come from that reach you just by word of mouth and listening?
I didn't do the Fanfest. I've gotten to the point with some of the stuff that's coming out online and the interviews and things like that I've personally stepped back because I'm like, now you're going to tell me too much. Okay. It's getting to the point where I'm starting to learn too much. But I can tell you that now that Brandon just talked about like the toys and stuff, and you're talking about Funko Pop and all this other stuff that's happening, especially like my local comic shop, like we all had to reserve the Justice League covers very early. We wanted
that was another really good promo.
It was a great promo. It was a great promo. So like that, things like that have made an impact on me because now it just furthers the conversation that this is not a fringe thing. This is not something fringe. It is pop culture. There's a huge amount of people that do want it, and it's starting to encroach on other parts of the fandom. Yeah, it's bigger than what we think.
I agree. All right. So Paul, for you, I know you've also, sort of taken a step back to keep your eyes, fresh for your first experience watching it. But just for the miscellaneous promo things, did anything stick out to you? And even if nothing stuck out to you, could you just comment on the quantity of what we're seeing? Are you happy with it? Is it at the level that you want it to be? Would you like it to be more? Would you like it to be less?
No, I think it's borderline overwhelming, to be quite honest. And I'm someone that's I would consider myself about as interested as you could possibly be in this topic, and I can't even keep up with it, especially with the merchandise. Like, I don't know how people are buying everything. I mean, I happen to pick and choose what it is I'm going to buy, and like Brandon said, those two. The Dark Side and the Steppenwolf McFarlane figures, those are going on my Father's Day list. They're not getting released till at least June 1st, so the timing should work out nicely there. I have all the DC Multiverse figures from the first time the movie got released, and so I'm not going to probably replace those necessarily, but obviously the two new ones are going to be Darkseid, Steppenwolf, Black Suit Superman when he's released. So those ones interest me. The T-shirts, they're interesting. I don't wear a lot of character T-shirts. That's not really my thing. I bought the AFSP ones to support AFSP, and some of them I liked. But that's kept my the T-shirts alone have kept my wallet busy. The football, to raise money. It's just been everywhere, right? With the IGN interview, the Vanity Fair interview, and from my perspective, I guess what's really kept me most busy during this point, I mean, aside from the character trailers and everything on a daily basis that we've been getting recently, and we'll get into that later, is trying to promote this thing to my personal real life circle, right? And for me, that means promoting Crave. So we've talked about HBO Max, we've talked about the Zack Snyder's Justice League Twitter page and Snyder himself, but for the international audience, that's been a whole big ongoing storyline, right? Is basically checking the countries off the list as each country has been wondering how am I going to watch this? When am I going to be able to watch this? And slowly but surely, the wheels have been turning, and more countries are getting day one access through various means. But for me, what matters to me is that Crave has got it. Crave has been promoting it. Crave has a deal right now where you can sign up for up to 3 months at half price, and combining that with the Valentine's Day trailer and the Vanity Fair article, I basically put together a package to share with people in real life, saying, hey, here's something we've been advocating for 3.5 years. Here's the trailer. Here's an article on the story that got us here. And by the way, it's going to be on Crave on March 18th, and you can get Crave for half price. And if this is something you'd want to watch and don't want to pay for, let me know, and we'll see what we can do about getting you a gift card, right? So that's actually been really successful. I've only had one person take me up on the gift card, but I have at least 2 or 3 people that have told me they're actually going to take the day off work, subscribe to Crave themselves, and watch the movie.
Oh,
that's just at work. For my close personal friends, same thing. I've got a couple of them taking the day off work. A number of them already subscribed to Crave here, or if they're in the States, HBO Max. So, just in my own personal circle, it's got to be upwards of 10 people that are going to be paying for this thing on day one, between work and friends and family too. I've been passing out BVS Blu-rays were on sale for $5.99 Canadian at Amazon, so I was sending those to anyone that wanted one. Anyone that hadn't seen the Ultimate Edition, I was putting those in the mail. So that's where my focus has been, but doing that kind of stuff to try and spread it to my real life circle, because I feel like Twitter, it's an echo chamber, right? We're all promoting the same hashtags to each other, right? Like, I don't feel like we're gaining a whole lot of traction at this point. So it's interesting. The merchandise, as I say, like, a lot of it isn't available to international customers. What is, some of it I'm interested in, some of it I'm not. But I guess I don't feel that there's a lack. To answer your original question, I don't feel there's a lack of a material or merchandise. I feel overwhelmed by it. I haven't been able to keep up with the interviews. I have a long list of downloaded podcasts or bookmarked tweets where I need to go back and listen to things and haven't had time yet. So overwhelming, I would say. So that's my thoughts on it.
I mean, good. Sounds like good vibes all around. For me, I've just been taking it all in. This is probably like my favorite time whenever it comes to the release of something I'm hotly anticipating, and especially Zack Snyder movies, because I don't know about other filmmakers, but he loves promoting and talking about his movies and doing these deep dives and really exploring it with fans and interviewers and whoever wants to talk to him. He's a very talkative person, and he's very imaginative, and if you give him your ear, he will chew it off. And so we've gotten so many good tidbits. I think one of the like high level, I'd say, as Christian said, AFSP, I've been so impressed with how, we've kept on, the marketing has kept on hammering that and bringing that to the forefront. And it's the AFSP is a character in this saga as much as anything else. AFSP is always in the back of my mind. I have a recurring, donation to them. And we all do, what we can, but some of that's usually just at the back of my mind, and I'm not usually out there like, yelling about it. But the marketing has done such a good job at every single turn. Everybody mentions it. There's promo coming in that's tied into it, and to me, that has just been like a joy to see, and it's something that I take great pride in being associated with that. But then also, one of the things I think was like the coolest thing was when they came out with like the names of the chapters. I thought that was really cool because that immediately cleared up a lot of the confusion and unfortunately hate that was out there. People were saying, it's a 4-hour movie. Oh, nobody's going to watch a 4-hour movie. And then you had people who were like confused. Isn't it supposed to be a miniseries? It's supposed to be a movie. But once, the names of the chapters came out, like that was just like all the hate, the irrational hate that we normally see. There was now no excuse to be able to watch this 4-hour movie because there are chapter times, and basically it's just like having a Netflix series, and you can watch, to any point you want and stop. I thought that's a very underrated bit of the marketing that's gone unmentioned. And something that we haven't discussed is the Dallas exhibition, the art exhibition that showed off, this sort of nightmare timeline. And then it also had Zack Snyder's 5-story arc, the entire story with all the spoilery details in it. And that has been shared a little bit online, and there was some controversy as to whether Zack wanted that scene, whether it was a spoiler, whether that would affect future movies. I have some detailed thoughts on that, but let's save them to another day. What I'll say is that at this point, it's 50-50. It's either or. It could go either way. But I'd say that there is a likelier probability that we get the Snyderverse continued than there was for the Snyder Cut to come out. But that doesn't mean there isn't hard work to be done. We made the impossible happen. Now we'll need to make the improbable happen, if that makes sense. Okay, so one of the really cool things that they've done, and Zack Snyder has done this for a lot of his movies, is that Zack Snyder is a director who, regardless of what anyone says, he's very character driven. He loves to dig into characters, their arcs, their backstories, their psychology, their psychosis, and every single thing about them. So there is a heavy focus on each character, and Zack Snyder and the entire marketing team for this movie have been releasing character teasers day by day, every day, following up on each other, character posters. Also, the Hashflags that we were concerned about a couple, weeks ago have started to materialize. When there was still a lot of consternation, the only hashtags we had were SnyderCut and Zack Snyder's Justice League. And to be sincere, because we have been starved for so long and we've been abused, it was almost like Stockholm Syndrome, where we're like, you know what? It's just 2 hashtags. They look exactly the same. Meanwhile, something like WandaVision had like 12, 13, like ridiculous number, like hashtags for side characters. We're like, all right, there's no hashtag for Superman or for, Darkseid or for Alfred but you know what? At least we go to hashtags. We're going to ride these 2 hashtags into the ground. You just watch. But now we've started to get more of them. So guys, I want you to talk about the presence of the Hashflags, how you feel about them. I want you to talk about the teasers. What's your favorite? What's your least favorite? Also, anything you have to say about like the posters, any of the gifts. Let's just talk about just the heroes in particular. And so let's start with Christian on this.
It sounds so silly, dude, but like having those stupid little hashtag emojis is so important. Like
It
people
is.
like, dude, they love to use them. Like it's just, and it seems like such a childish, dumb thing, but it really isn't. I posted 3 things the other day just so I could use the Superman emoji. Like I just did that on purpose because it was such a fun thing to do. And that's one of the reasons that you want people to do this stuff, right? Because you want them to have fun with it. Like they're not going to do it if they don't enjoy it. So, it's just, it all comes into that viral marketing that they weren't doing. It's like so stupid not to jump on top of this crap. And like these other companies do it. And like sometimes we think they do too much. Like you just mentioned a bunch of like side characters for WandaVision. Who gives a crap about anybody other than Wanda or Vision? But
They
like,
had one for, I think it was called like The Neighbor, something like
what the
that.
fuck?
Like, it wasn't even the name of a character, it was just like The Neighbor. I was like, they get one for The Neighbor and we don't get anything? What is going on?
but it's smart. Like
Absolutely.
it works. So I like that stuff. I think it's great. So that definitely affects me because I love it. And you got somebody that can jump into it and just have fun with it. And I like that kind of stuff. And then I really, you're talking about like the little teasers with the characters. I think it's a good thing to focus on that too, because, like, especially with like Superman, for instance, okay, fine. If I don't really care if somebody likes Man of Steel Superman better, or if they like Donner Superman better, or whatever, Brandon Root, I just don't care. Whatever your favorite version of Superman is, it is what it is. But what we got in Justice League Theatrical was not a continuation of that version of the character that we had in Man of Steel and BVS. So his, in particular, seeing more of him is something that I really liked. And I've talked to you about how much I revere the whole death of Superman, the reign of the Superman arc, then the Hank Henshaw and the return and all that. I revere that whole time, and it led into Emerald Twilight. So like, it's just so like, it's such a high point for me in comics. So of course I have personal reasons why I want to see the colored suit back. I want to see the blue and red suit return, but it was just so good to see him, and it was so great to see Superman receive that attention that he deserves. That Zach had done. Zach had given him that. And Man of Steel is a great movie. And I just love seeing that. Of course, the Batman tank. Hello. Anybody else? I was all in on the Batman tank. So I like this. I think they've created a little bit of like a viral thing going on. You get people, you whet their appetites. Like Paul said previously, I think we are bordering on a little too much because it's been packed into this like 4 to 6 week period. But I like the little bit by bit and, focusing on each character. I do think this is important.
All right. Very cool. So, Brandon, what do you think about the Hashflags, the teasers, and the posters for the heroes?
Well, I mean, obviously, we've proven over the last few years how important it is to have a hashtag that people use and people notice. I'd say the big thing was the emojis. One, because it makes it a whole lot easier to click on the correct one and make sure that we're not trying to release the SnyderCut. But
that was a big problem, Christian. Like a big problem.
I know.
Sometimes SnyderCut was out trending SnyderCut a lot of times.
What a mess.
I remember how frustrated people used to be. They were like crop the trending of the wrong one, and they'll have like 12,000 tweets, and they're like, people, please stop using the wrong hashtag.
But yeah, so I mean, having the hashtag, and now I think most everybody's on board with using both of them. Really, the Zack Snyder's Justice League and SnyderCut one. There's always a bit of confusion because it appeared that HBO Max wanted SnyderCut to be able to count its trending, and Zack really liked the Zack Snyder's Justice League one. I just put both now. It's just easy because I could just click both pretty easily. The emojis are really cool though, so especially like today was Steppenwolf. To see Steppenwolf's head on there is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to that right now, actually, just because I feel like using it. So we get to it right now.
Right, and then you're not confusing it with the band. But the trailers have been really cool every day because for the first couple of days it was exactly on time. It was 11:14 in the morning my time. every moment, and it would drop on the dot, and it hit Vero, and you'd see it. And then Zach had to start releasing it a little bit early because the stuff was starting to come out. And then the one hit Twitch, and everybody thought that was a leak, and it really wasn't. It was just an advertisement. Batman was cool. Aquaman's was probably the most disappointing. There just wasn't really much. But everybody's been missing these itty bitty little ones that are posted exactly at 2:14 or exactly at 2 p.m. every day. And they're little 11-second snippets, and they've been really awesome. They've almost shown more. And that's been really cool. But I think the outside of the villain ones, which have just been orgasm inducing, the Cyborg and Flash ones are the best because those are the two that got robbed the most. I mean, Superman was, but those two characters were absolutely gutted and turned into jokes and sidelines. So seeing Flash, I mean, seeing the lightning shoot off of the lampposts is just fucking awesome. And then seeing Cyborg fly, and it's just, those two I think were the most exciting ones I've seen. Superman is my favorite comic book hero ever, so seeing him in the black suit was just in action. It's just been awesome.
Nice. You're getting me so hyped. Paul, what do you think about these little hero activations?
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, it's overwhelming, but at the same time, I'm enjoying these trailers every day. These little character teasers every day. I look forward to those each day. That the Hashflags are cool. We've wanted those for a while. We got them. I got nothing left to say to use them. You know what I mean? I'm all talked out. I just want the movie to be here. I like seeing others use them. I haven't had the time or the energy or anything profound to add in order to take advantage of them a lot. But I do like that other people have been using them, and I do feel the hype building every day. I mean, because we all do look forward to these little teasers. The other stuff is nice extras, right? The Hashflags, the little GIF things that follow, the character posters. But what I really care about is those 30-second or minute-long teasers each day, and I've enjoyed them all. I actually like the Aquaman one, particularly because you're hearing some of the character story we didn't get, like the Vulko speaking, Mara speaking. With Superman, you hear I believe it was a Superman teaser where we hear Jonathan Kent. Do we hear Jor-El in there too? Yeah. Or is it just Jonathan Kent? Jor-El's in there too, right?
It's just Jonathan Kent? Man of Steel, but he might still be there.
Yeah, no, it was just Jonathan Kent, and it was new dialogue, actually.
Yep.
Right. Oh. So that's the kind of stuff that I've really enjoyed about those, and the tone, and like Brandon said, like the characters that really got robbed or abused in Justice League, like Flash and Cyborg, you see the tone is right. You see there's going to be more to their stories. The Wonder Woman one, the we have no fear thing, right? Like you just get a sense of the intensity that this is going to have that was so sorely lacking in Justice League, right? So I've enjoyed them all on their own merits, and as you guys know, I gravitate towards villains, and I was excited about the Apocalyptian. So any glance we get at Darkseid and Steppenwolf has been the most exciting for me, aside from maybe a few of those character voiceovers. Like the Jonathan Kent thing has always been a big thing for me. I was wanting more of that, and we're getting it. So I think it's great. That's what I look forward to each day, and I don't know how much more there is to add, really.
I will add more to it if I don't mind. No, it's been super exciting. It's you're building a party, it's like being a DJ and or the party planner, and that's what all these things are. They're the little trinkets and the little activations and fun things, and you have your piñata, your games to one side, slip and slide, the bouncy castle, trampoline, you have drinks. That's what all these little things are. You're creating an atmosphere of excitement and celebration. You're making it an event, and that's what we were always a little bit trepidatious about, a little bit, nervous about, that this movie, which is an event film, will not have that event treatment. But we got to give credit to HBO and HBO Max for stepping up to the plate. And right now, at this moment in time, they're absolutely knocking it out the park. Like this level of marketing that I'm getting, it feels, at least the virtual social media side of it feels as gargantuan and big and bold as you would for something like Batman v Superman. It does help, or maybe not, that we're in a pandemic, so a lot of us are engaging in social media and engaging online, and also I guess they're not going to spend as much advertising in the real world in terms of like billboards and that sort of thing, because people are just not as out and about as we used to be. And so they can focus all their dollars, more intensely on social media. But I've really been thoroughly enjoying the party. I really have. And it really does feel like an event film. And maybe I'm too close to it, but for my money, it feels like the biggest film of the year. It feels like the blockbuster event of the year for me, in terms of before it comes out, and before something like WandaVision was the most talked about thing. It was incredibly super massive for weeks and weeks and weeks, but that built up, and that was after it released. But just talking about going into it, it just feels absolutely massive. And we got to give a lot of credit to the fandom, because the fandom has carried a lot of weight in terms of preparing the stage for this to be able to take hold and just lift off. And also for things like, for example, like for IGN, for miscellaneous interviews, for photos that Zack Snyder will post, it was the fans that were doing the heavy lifting. So HBO Max just coming in and putting the cherry on top is just bellissimo, bellissimo. In terms of the Hashflags, just as a general thought, have you guys noticed that the Hashflags and the posters are all black and white? They're in this monochromatic black and white, gray, silver sort of color palette, and I am loving it. Visually, it's beautiful. It's funny because like when the first Justice L was coming out, they went with this oversaturated color palette, and everything was just color, which was a response to the criticisms and the haters, and that got them nowhere. But now Zack Snyder is back with a vengeance. He's back with so much vengeful venom that he desaturated the color palette to absolute zero, and that just sets the mood. It sets the tone. It lets everyone know that this is something different. And, a lot of people are aware of those criticisms. Oh, it doesn't have color. So when they see black and white posters, trust me, it registers that this is a big FU. And whether people see it as an FU or not, everybody respects someone who stands up for themselves, whether you like them or not. That's one thing in life. Even if someone doesn't like what you're doing or doesn't like you, if they're standing, 10 toes down and they're like, this is what I'm about, I don't care what you think, at least you respect them. And I really hope that Warner Brothers is taking lessons from this. And I hope that they, walk forward with this level of boldness in who they are. Along the
I gotta
path.
say, Lupe, your perspective on those posters is a little different than mine. You read a lot more into that than I did.
Yeah. I know. But I've just been having fun with it. But it also alludes to, Zach did say that the reason why he put all those images out in black and white was because he saw a poster for Justice League, and the color annoyed him to no ends. Can you remember?
The color was bad originally. I do feel like though this, like, if there's one thing I've been disappointed by, it's been the posters though. I feel like they're recycled photos, just black and white.
Yeah.
I was hoping
they
for
are.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't love them. I didn't love them the first time around. The character posters, like those were not. I didn't think it was great the first time. I still don't think they're great. Like if we were gonna get posters, I was hoping for something different and new, and I guess we got that with the 3 posters that were released, like the film reel and the flag. Those were cool. I like those, but these little daily character posters have been, I think, the most underwhelming, because I've liked the clips, I've liked the teaser clips, I've liked the GIFs, because even the GIFs show you a little bit of additional detail and information maybe you didn't get in the teasers. The posters themselves, though, I could leave them.
They've been a bit underwhelming. But the fan posters recently have been fantastic.
Yeah.
There's been some really great stuff out there. I mean, obviously,
Fan posters,
you know,
yes, I agree. Yeah.
yeah, Mighty Pegasus poster is pretty awesome, but I'm holding out for a Mondo one because I actually do want a poster on my wall, and I have the poster from the first Justice League from Lee Bermejo, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
but it's very red.
I love his
it's
art.
very
It's gorgeous
super
looking, but I had
saturated.
to take it down because it was embarrassing.
Yeah. I think in
and-
terms of the posters, I agree with both of y'all. I think it's just for me, I'm looking at more of the tone it's setting, right, and the story it's telling. And as I said, as Paul said, me reading into it, but that read is it is a theory, but it's a valid theory in light of Zach actually saying that he had it in black and white, and that he, put out, posters in black and white, was going with that theme because he saw the garish, ugly, grotesque color that was in Justice League. So I love it in keeping with the theme. In terms of the teasers, my favorites, I'm a Superman fan, and the Superman one did not disappoint. Oh my goodness, the black suit looking drop dead gorgeous. In my regular life, I've been into wearing all black recently. Black is like very sexy and always looks good. Very slimming, very chic, and Superman's out there looking like a supermodel. Batman's obviously a little bit upset because it's like, come on, God, like black is supposed to be my thing. I'm supposed to be the one looking good in all black, but Superman's in black. And as Paul said, the Wonder Woman one, where we hear the Amazons, yell, "We have no fear." Like, come on, guys. Come on. Like, one of the things I'm looking forward so much to on the Snyder Cut is Zack Snyder redeeming Wonder Woman from the nonsense that my eyes had to endure in the
My number 4 movie of the year, Lupe.
Three Stooges. Wonder Woman 84. Don't let me go off on a rant, because the last time we discussed Wonder Woman,
I got to spare 3.5 hours. Go for it.
I think I went on a 20-minute rant. So we'll leave that alone. And the proof is going to be in the pudding on March 18th. I also think that the Flash one was very revealing, showing the speed sports and how Zack Snyder is going to interpret that. I think that that's going to be visually, it's just going to be something new and something amazing for us to see. Paul, let's start with you. In terms of the villain stuff, you skirted around it, but feel free to go deeper in. Today we got something for Steppenwolf and Darkseid, and then there was this little Twitch video. I'm not sure if you saw that, but what do you think about the rendering of the villains, how they're looking? What did you have pictured in your mind for how Zack Snyder was going to represent this world and these characters, their voices, all that? And what do you think of what you've gotten from reveals so far?
Yeah, I've really liked what we've seen. The Twitch thing. At first, when I saw that, I kind of regretted watching it because at the very end you see Darkseid, you hear his voice, and you're like, oh, why, that would have been kind of cool to leave for the actual movie. But now that we saw the one today, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, and unfortunately I only had time to watch that like once today. I was pretty busy. That's him communicating. That's not actually him physically present, right? Where you see his eyes, he looks almost like a lava creature, right? Like you see his eyes glowing. Like that's him communicating.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, that's where Steppenwolf is bowing down before the monolith.
At the monolith, exactly right.
That's the monolith.
Yes,
That's
So it makes me feel a little bit better about seeing it now, right? Because I don't feel like that's as big a spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I like the dialogue. I love the tone. This is what I wanted to see. I want to see this in the Nightmare, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. And I gotta admit, I mean, I was a little worried about the look of Steppenwolf, even up till very recently. Like I had faith that it would look good, but I hadn't seen enough to prove it to myself that I was really going to like it. And I think I'm there now. I think I really like what I'm seeing with Steppenwolf, and I like what I'm seeing of Darkseid. I've always liked what we've seen of Desaad ever since the first trailer where they showed Desaad, and his VFX looked so much better than everyone else's. Like, it just looked like it was just a whole other level of completion. So I'm just excited to get as much of that as we can, and I can't wait. I don't know how much more there is to say at this point. As I say,
Right.
I'm halfway into shutdown mode and just wanting to lock down and wait for this thing to start. So
I want to. I just can't.
So let's go on to our Kansas Mafia. Brandon, what do you think about the villains? And feel free if you have any criticisms. Let's hear him. I know it's been a love fest so far. It wouldn't hurt to hear any sort of like realistic criticisms of anything that you've seen so far for the villains.
My biggest, really my only complaint is I almost kind of wish some of it would have been left for the movie to just be an absolute surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the design work, Ray Porter's voice, is terrifying. Like I couldn't imagine it sounding that good. Because generally, like you watch the animated movies, and it's the guy from the Nationwide commercials, or Tony Todd or something, and it's like it's fine. But this is just, there is a meanness that if you want to compare Thanos and Darkseid, Thanos sounds like a little bitch compared to this.
I won't go that far, and I know Christian will
It's
attack you. Christian is not going to agree with that.
Bring it on.
No.
And,
I don't hate Thanos' voice. I don't hate.
I don't hate Thanos' voice. Josh Brolin.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
Guys, we're too old to argue about who's going to beat who at a fight.
my dad is bigger.
Let's not go there.
My new god could beat your new god.
My dad will beat your dad.
No, but it's intention though. Thanos was built to be understandable, and Darkseid is not. He is strictly evil. He tells you right there in the trailers. He doesn't want to make worlds better. He wants to burn all of them to the ground and own everything. Thanos is supposed to be relatable in the movies, and Darkseid isn't, and it's apparent just in the voices between the two. So there's no.
I don't necessarily think that makes, just not to interrupt, but just to keep this, balanced. I don't think that makes Thanos any less than. I actually really like everything I got from Thanos. Like,
no, yeah,
Marvel, like no matter what Marvel fans say, Marvel has a bad track record with villains, but Thanos was a great villain. Like, got it, like hats off to him, like round of applause. And I like.
Yeah, after 2020, we know he was right. Yeah. So
he was, of course. I mean, as long as he takes out, as long as the half he takes out has Trump in it, I'm fine.
I'm not going to beat around the bush on that one, but but yeah. So it's just Darkseid sounds terrifying. Steppenwolf looks great, and he also looks far more intimidating than old gray Liam Neeson from the Justice League.
Oh,
it's just. It's wild to see the difference. So
it's
I mean,
crazy.
the villain trailers, I think, are what are really starting to sell some of these people that were on the fence. Like everybody knew the heroes are gonna be better, and they think that they're gonna be the heroes, but the villains, everybody complained about Steppenwolf in the theatrical. Nobody liked him, and this is going to be the biggest proof of what was different from Zack, is that these villains might actually be terrifying. And even, especially the one today, and not the primary villains that have been advertised, the parademons dragging Atlantean soldiers out of the water and throwing them down. These parademons might be fucking vicious.
Yeah, I like that too, Brandon.
Yeah. And that was cut because it was too violent in the theatrical version. And I'm in. Let's do this. So my only complaint is that I kind of wish a little bit of it was saved, but this is not a doomsday moment where the moment I saw Doomsday, I knew Superman was going to die. This isn't a spoiler. It's just there's so much excitement, but that I have to remember we've only seen 9 minutes of a 4-hour movie.
And on that point of you seeing Doomsday, I'll have a little bit to talk about in our next topic. So Christian, do you want to wrap us up on what you thought of the villains?
Yeah, I think what Brandon said, it is important to see the villains. I think that, like in my comic groups, like a lot of the guys, even though there's these conversations about, do we want the new 52, Uxas, whatever, blah, 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 they're all going back and forth on a couple of things. Seeing the changes in the villains and also seeing the big bad of the DC universe come to the big screen and look like that, because really, like, it's, you know, Smallville's like really the last time we really saw him on any sort of live action, and he sucked there. So, you know, he was terrible. He was terrible in that. And it's so this is, I mean, it's good, and I like seeing him as like this. There's two things I really enjoy. I like seeing him as like this presence that's in the background that's kind of pushing all of this, and the fear is building, the anxiety is building. I like seeing that, because when it finally snaps, he's gonna fuck shit up. So I like that. And then the other thing that I really like the part in Infinity War where they fight on Titan against Thanos with Tony's team is fantastic. But one of the things
Doctor Strange was putting in work.
So good. That entire scene,
given the business.
It's so good. But one of the things that's missing is that the Titan, like, Titan's already dead at that point. It's gone. Like, that's one of the whole reasons of why, like Brandon said, Thanos is this almost relatable villain. Titan's dead, and Titan's dead because they overuse their resources and everything. We might get to see the Apocalypse culture. Are we going to get to see the followers of Darkseid? That's so important. It's one of the coolest things about the opening of Man of Steel, right? Is that we see an active Krypton. Like, that's what I want to see. If we see that, I think you've sold a lot of these comic guys.
For sure.
I can't wait to see a shot of Apocalypse from space.
Yeah.
Like the actual planet with the planets coming out. Like, I want to see what Zack Snyder's realistic looking hell planet looks like.
Because that's the biggest thing. Like, Titan, it's already dead by the time we see. Like, yeah, that fight's fantastic, but it's just the team against Thanos. I want to, like, what is Titan's army like? We get one moment with Gamora. That's it. Yeah, it would be great to see that.
As you said, that's definitely one of Zack Snyder's specialties as this visionary world builder. What I'll say is, I mean, for me, if anyone knows me, my favorite superhero is Superman. My favorite villain is Darkseid. Like, and to me, it's because they are the top of the pyramid in terms of maybe not popularity or whatever, because obviously we know Joker. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna be stupid enough to lie, because you guys just won't believe me. But in terms of when you talk of hierarchy, the top of the pyramid, the food chain, in terms of villains in comic books especially, is Darkseid. And the top in terms of superheroes is Superman, in terms of like power level, like this sort of iconic epicness, just the, I mean, there are other, obviously, like characters, the source, but we're talking about just like, a regular, like legacy characters. So those are my two favorites. And I shit you not, whoever's listening to this, it's as if Zack Snyder grew up with me. And when I was a kid, we're talking about, what would it be like if Superman did this and Darkseid and it was like this? I grew up wanting to see Darkseid look exactly like this. I don't mean like kind of like this, a little like this is in the ballpark. This is exactly what I wanted him to look like. I wanted him to look like this very realistic depiction of what a god would look like on another planet, and have this, people were alluding to Lord of the Rings, and that's just when I saw Lord of the Rings, I was like, this is it. I mean, I grew up around fantasy with Conan the Barbarian is like hardwired into my DNA, heavy metal magazine, Frank Frazetta, type of stuff. So when I saw Lord of the Rings, the affinity was right there, the visuals of it, and that's why I also like King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. And then seeing Zack Snyder's interpretation of who these apocalyptians are, their technology, their attire, their architecture, all of that. This is what I mean when we talk of, for example, the Mortal Kombat trailer. We did a reaction to it, and my reaction was that I was disappointed because I felt it did not elevate the material. This is elevating the material. This is taking it and just blowing it out the water and giving it this epic, majestic, cinematic treatment. And I couldn't be happier, because for me, a lot of this, stories of heroes really hinge on how good the villains are, and it's not just, oh, do the villains, are they effective, or on that base level. Let's get to the nitty gritty. What do they look like? What do they sound like? What is the portrayal of these villains? And I can go on and on and on, and I'll cut myself off here because I'm taking too much time. Just to let you guys know that this was a really big deal to me ever since I saw the Nightmare Future in Batman v Superman, and I am beyond thrilled, beyond satisfied. This is a dream come true, and I will cherish this forever. So our next topic is, haven't seen like all this promo and a bunch of stuff. Do you guys feel we've been spoiled too much? I know that Christian and Captain Positivity have kept away from a lot of the marketing, and they're keeping themselves relatively fresh. But B and I, we dived into the deep end, and we're just like, just whatever, just bring it. We'll have it all.
Feed me.
Do you guys think that too much has been revealed? What do you think of the strategy? And if you feel too much has been revealed, is there any justification for it, or would you have done it differently? So let's start with Christian on this, and then we'll go to Paul and then Brandon.
So yeah, would I have done it a little differently? I guess I do think it is getting to a point where we're starting to see a little too much. To me, I felt the same way with Endgame. I thought, even though they were like, oh, we didn't reveal anything past the first 30 minutes, it didn't matter. I was starting to see too much. There were toys, there were stories, comics were coming out, all that kind of stuff. It was all based on it. So you started to see what was going to be happening by the middle of the movie, potentially with the ending. And I didn't like that. Forget the fan theories. That's something completely different. It's just too much of the movie started to get revealed. I had to pull back. And I find myself doing that here. Would I have done it differently? I think Zach's doing everything he possibly can to drum up positivity, to drum up marketing, to get hype, all that kind of stuff. So I think he's doing everything he possibly can. I think it comes full circle to the conversation we had at the beginning. If shit was done correctly from the beginning, maybe you wouldn't necessarily have to do some of this stuff and smash it into 4 weeks. That's a possibility. But I think every movie at this point, and that's what this is, right? This is a big event movie. That's what it is. I think every movie starts to suffer from this at some point. That it's just too much. Even smaller movies like Logan, it just gets to be too much. But it seems to be like every property suffers from that. But I will say, and I could be totally off base, and this is where I'll throw it back to you, Lupe, maybe instead of jamming it into 6 weeks, if somebody, and I'm not blaming Zach here, I'm blaming the system, right? So the studio, whatever the system is, had said maybe we could have drummed up a little hype a little earlier, you wouldn't necessarily have to be stuck doing this in the last couple of weeks. I might be wrong, but just
all right. Yeah, no, that's a really good take, and your caution in terms of seeing things and consuming all the promo reflects that. So very, very valid take. Let's go to Paul. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like the way this has been done, and even though I've said I feel overwhelmed, I'm not the person you need to sell this movie to. I was sold 4 years ago.
That's a good point.
If I don't know how much of this is actually trickling out to people beyond the hardcore comic book movie fandom, but I think that there is still a segment of the audience that needs to be convinced or needs to understand that this is an entirely different movie. And so I think this is essential for that, to convey the tone, to show the characters, to show the difference in the look, to show that each character is going to get their arc, to show that the villains are a whole different thing and that there's this other world of apocalypse. There are people that were still confused by the Nightmare in BVS. This shows them that, hey, that was setting something up, and here it is. We're going to see more of that. So, I mean, for me, I can pick and choose what I want to give attention to, and that's what I've been doing. I'm ready to, as I say, I'm ready to lock down and watch this thing, but I'm not going to turn down a 30-second or minute-long teaser that gives me a little bit more. And from the perspective of have we been spoiled? I mean, once you saw what Steppenwolf looks like, once you saw what Darkseid looks like, once you get that little glimpse of Apocalypse in the February 14th trailer, I don't think they've really spoiled anything more. it's just increased my hype for the film. So I think they've been very careful about what they've shown. We've got a 4-hour movie. I think showing that there were 7 chapters was important, 6 originally, and then 6 plus an epilogue. Call it 7 if you want, because for those people that say, "Oh my God, I could never sit down and watch a 4-hour movie," well, now you know that you can pause it between chapters if you want to break it up for yourself. And like I say, like, when I watch this with my daughter, I'm planning on taking little pauses. Maybe it's going to be every 2 chapters. I mean, I know Snyder said that he recommends pausing after chapter 4. I think would be his, where I think that's where the intermission would be in the theatrical. But I mean, maybe we'll pause it every chapter. Maybe we'll pause every second chapter. That's fine. We're not going to walk away, but we'll. And we're not going to walk away for the day. I mean, we'll maybe take a 5 or 10 minute intermission, get a refill on snacks, take a break, and then come back to it. So I think for those people that are on the fence, those people that say, "Well, I wasn't really sold on Batman v Superman. You want me to watch 4 hours of this now?" It just it plants the idea in your head that you can break this up the way you want. And so no, I think it's been done very well. And I think you want to build the hype right when they're building it. Like, I know that you could say we could have spaced it out more, but I also think you could run out of steam if you started too early, right? So I think this is peaking at just the right time. Like, for me personally, I'm at the point where I just give it to me tomorrow. I imagine most people are probably in that similar space, and really we don't have to wait that much longer, right? It's next week now, so I think the timing has been pretty much perfect. And with that, I'll pass it on to Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, as far as it goes, it's just, I'm normally one of those people. I watch one trailer, and then I'm usually, if I'm sold, then I'm sold, and I try to ignore everything else. I don't generally watch the second trailer if I don't need to. I don't watch the TV spots. I don't watch clips. I kind of avoid it because I want to go. I want to forget as much as possible, and then go in and watch it and be like, "Oh, I don't even remember what this movie was about." But after what we fought for, I can't help myself. I have to watch every single clip, or every little trailer. I have to see it. It's my drug. I'm just injecting it right into my veins. And I know I probably shouldn't, but I have to know at some point that as cool as these itty bitty little snippets of each scene that we're seeing are, that Zach's holding some major stuff back.
Oh, no doubt.
So, and this is only a part of the picture. I mean, I can't imagine what it's going to sound like in its final form, with a great surround sound or a great set of headphones or whatever. We're getting mono, maybe stereo quality out of this at 720p. Sorry, Paul, I know that might be how you have to watch it. But,
not on Crave. Crave will get 1080p. Okay. It's only if I decide to use the HBO Max subscription and double my viewings. And actually, I have 2 Crave subscriptions, so I can triple my viewings with 2 Crave subscriptions and an HBO Max subscription.
So I just can't wait to see it in its final form, and no more of these. Oh, this visual effects shot doesn't look done, or there's green screen in the corner here. Like, no. These trailers were cut months ago. He's had these for a while, and we've already seen like the little green screen in the corner from the February 14th trailer. A TV spot already had that fixed. It's just these things get edited a while ago, and he doesn't have time to update all the visual effects shots in the trailers as they come in. So the final form, I just imagine, is going to look pretty immaculate. As dumb as some people say, it's not going to be 480p upscaled to 4K. It's going to be mind-blowingly gorgeous. It's going to probably destroy my Dolby Atmos sound system. And yeah,
just report that when that happens, because that should be fun to watch.
Yeah, right.
Like drinking a backboard after
I've overdosed on this, and I'm ready for my final score.
There you go. For me, in terms of spoilers and stuff, it's there's so many places I'm coming at this from. Like, Paul nailed it. That's something that a lot of people need to consider. The fact that for us, we've been in this for so long, and we've gotten like so much information, we know all about it, and so it might feel like an overload. But then there are people who their hearts are so hardened against it, and whenever they've seen new stuff, they're like, oh, that was in the movie, it's just a different version, blah blah blah. And with all the stuff that's been coming out, it's just shown a completely different movie, just completely different. So that needs to be, nailed home over and over again. Also, let's keep it real. If you don't want to see anymore, then avert your eyes. It's just, you're an adult. Nobody's forcing and prying your eyes open to see this stuff. So I feel like they're okay to do what they will. But I assure people that there is more than one thing. But I think there's one thing that's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. For example, in Batman v Superman, the mind-blowing thing was that Superman died. A lot of us didn't know, like, even after seeing Doomsday, I had no idea Superman was going to die. I don't know how I didn't put that together. It's one of the biggest failures of my life. But then also we have to remember that at first 6 chapters were announced. I knew there was an epilogue. I don't know whether maybe it was in conversation with Zach. It's very possible, but I always knew there was an epilogue. I knew it was quite a beefy epilogue, but I didn't know that the epilogue is about 25 minutes long.
Yeah, it was public, Lupe, that there was an epilogue. I mean, he said it himself on a stream. But I mean, I always thought, well, the epilogue is that leaked storyboard that we saw, and I thought that'll take maybe 3 or 4 minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes,
Exactly, 4, 5 minutes, something like that. Like a 25-minute epilogue is a lot. Epilogue means that it's happening after, basically, it's like, imagine what the MCU's end credit stingers are. That's actually an epilogue. That's what epilogues used to be in movies. But they didn't happen after the credits. They happened after. So the movie happens, you have the end. Then you have an epilogue. Okay? And I expected the epilogue to be just 4 or 5 minutes, and I expected it to be mind-blowing. Now we know that the epilogue is going to be about 25 minutes. That's a lot. That's one. 2, this is not just some simple 25 minutes of setting up or whatever. Zack Snyder has said that in every single chapter, including the epilogue, there is a big action sequence. So let your mind just go wherever it wants to go. It's only a few days away. You're going to be able to partake in the holy grail of the Snyder Cut. I'm not worried about spoilers at all. Also, for this reason, I'm not going to watch the Snyder Cut just once. I'm more concerned about spoilers for movies that I don't intend on watching multiple times. So for the Snyder Cut, I'm probably going to end up watching it over my lifetime 30, 40, 50, maybe more times. I watch Man of Steel from time to time, and every time I watch it, I don't feel like, oh my goodness, it's been spoiled, so it's ruined. I'm anticipating this movie being great enough for me to watch it multiple times. So spoilers don't weigh as much, because that first experience, you do want it to be glorious, but it will pass, and then you will watch it, multiple times. So while I don't want the whole thing spoiled, and I don't want my first experience to be, ruined, I'm not as precious about it. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Okay, so that's us talking about all this marketing that's been for us and all this cool stuff. Now let's go into a bit more controversial territory. We're going to have a little bit more debate. This is going to be where we're going to live up to our names as exiles, and this has to do with access to the movie before it released. There have been different, sides of this debate, so to speak, different perspectives coming from different aisles. So let's first start with access to bloggers. And bloggers, I know it's a very loose term that we use because, for example, under that term, we are bloggers ourselves. So Zack Snyder has sent out screeners to bloggers, certain bloggers, and they've seen it by now. We definitely do know that Kevin Smith has seen it. We know that Jake, is his name Jake Arthur?
Jake Hamilton.
Jake Hamilton. Yes, sorry about that. Jake Hamilton has seen it by now. He's already shot his interview with Zack Snyder. We also know that Josh Horowitz has seen it as well.
Brandon Davis.
Brandon Davis has seen it as well. At least he's alluded to the fact, and also Paul Shirey has hinted that he's heard from a few people who have seen it, and I also suspect that Sean O'Connell must have seen it. If he's interviewing Zack Snyder by now, I think that he has seen it. He's part of a very big outlet. So
I saw he got the invite for Monday, but I wonder if maybe he's still got one even earlier.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's seen it by now. He has
Okay.
to have. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense for him not to see it. Forget him writing the book and all that stuff. He's part of like Cinema Blend, and they're very, very big, and they do like a bunch of like red carpet, and they have access to like the biggest Hollywood stuff. Like, so like, him seeing it, that's par for the course. So when people heard this, there was a lot of gnashing of teeth, chagrin, upset, triggered people. And rightfully so. I'm not making fun of anyone. Please do not take my tone in the wrong way. So what do you guys think of the advanced access to these bloggers as parts of the marketing initiative? And let us start with Christian, since I think Christian has a more non-biased opinion about the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll preface it by saying that I've watched a lot of this fight happening online, and some of my friends have DM'd me and they're trying to fill me in on what's going on. And I'm like, look, you're not going to fill me in on everything in a span of a couple of days. You're not. So it's not going to happen. What I'll tell you is how I feel. Okay. I understand, and I want to be very clear that I understand that the fans own this, that this belongs to them, that Zach has said that from the very beginning. He wouldn't be here without them. Look, we're very clear on all of that, right? However, this has moved once again from some sort of fringe comic book, whatever, conspiracy theory movement to an actual pop culture event with an IP that is a massive IP for the property owners. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the rest of them are massive IP. I have a Six Flags by me, and they rake in the dollars on the DC properties. Okay, this is huge money. And you now have gotten to the point where this is no longer just something that could stream at a fan cast event or something like that. This is now a prestige event on a streaming service that wants to make serious dollars moving forward and wants to drive subscriptions to their service. Some of the fans are going to be listening to me. They're going to be pissed off at me, and I know it. But please understand that I don't understand all of the interplay here. But what I'm trying to say is, from a business perspective, it makes sense. You got to get some of the people that hated you on board before. You got to kind of treat this like a red carpet premiere. You have to treat it that way. You got to get people to turn around and say, this thing is good. We need more of this so you can possibly get a Snyderverse in the future. Maybe it'll never happen theatrically. Who cares? You can get it on HBO Max, and I think you guys would still be very satisfied with what you get. So I want to look, I get it. I don't know all the background, and you guys are probably going to fill me in on a lot of it as soon as I stop talking. But I'm just looking at it from an unbiased business perspective. Guys, I think this makes sense. And for anybody out there, because I got two friends that I know are not going to the premiere and stuff like that, and they've talked to me about it. I know how upset they are about it. They feel hurt. But and they know some of their friends are going. And I'm like, they're asking me, like, what do I don't know. I don't know. Like, I haven't been part of this, guys. Like, I'm probably not the right person to ask, but all I've said is, there's got to be a reason why they did it the way they did. And when you look at it, they're treating this like it's a red carpet premiere in many ways. So I know you guys probably aren't going to agree with me on that, but I understand why they're doing it. And because of it, you're probably going to get some really good press out of it. And at this point, let's face it, you need it. You need it.
Very well said. Very well said. Brandon, what has been your overall thought of bloggers getting access and getting interviews? I mean, you've been here, you've been here for years. You're an old man, a veteran in the game, and you know why this started. I don't have to preach to the choir. So what do you think?
I mean, as soon as they announced it, and even before, for it to be a realistic possibility to be something that Warner Brothers was going to want to profit off of, or HBO Max wanted to really make successful. It's just, that's the business. That makes sense. You're going to get it out to people that have a voice first, and your hope is that they like it or love it, and that they spread goodwill. That's just normal. Most of the people that I've seen get access to it. Jake Hamilton seems like a really nice, legit dude who loves the Snyderverse. I've never had a single bad word with Sean O'Connell. I did my interview with him for his book. He's spread a lot of positivity around us. If you think that he's just in it for the publicity and the money, that's on you. That's on him. However, he's done good things. He deserves to see it early. I'm fine with that. A lot of these people that I'm saying I'm fine with. There's a few people out there that are very worrisome to see possibly getting to see it early. If you run an MCU website that has always spread hate towards Zack and his fans, I'm sorry, you're out. Like, it's just, you can't only give review copies to the people that you're pretty sure are going to love it, but you can refuse to give it to the people that are just the most toxic people. You have to just start cutting them off and just saying, you're a piece of shit. It's not that we're afraid of your review. It's the way that you act. We're not going to reward you anymore. So as far as that goes, there's some very, very hateful people that were here back when BVS happened, and they've made it their job to destroy us, and they don't deserve it. But most of them, I don't think, are actually getting them unless it's part of a group. But I think the story has changed too. I don't think there's going to be as big of a hate train on this. I think that the narrative has changed from BVS. There will still be people that hate it, that hate the thought of it, that won't get on board with it. But I think there's going to be a lot of more people that have kind of learned to accept or maybe even love the movie. I mean, even somebody like Sean O'Connell, who didn't really like the first two until they started talking about it with people who loved it. And I think that this is going to be better received even by some of the people that weren't always on board with us. And it's only a few days. We won. Our premieres on the 18th, and we won this, and we all get to live with that we made this a reality. So the rest of it's just smoke. Don't get all that upset about it. It's just it's business, and business comes first.
I apologize for interrupting you. I've definitely seen in some of my comic communities, I've seen a lot more of a live and let live mentality with this property, which wasn't there a couple of years ago. There's more, there's much more of a, guys, if they like it, just shut up and let them like it. And that could translate easily into positivity after it comes out. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, time heals all wounds. We've seen a lot of people lately, but I just went back and rewatched BVS. It's have I been sleeping on this the whole time?
I've seen that
secretly a masterpiece. I've seen that a lot lately.
Yeah, and people trying to to get up to speed before the Snyder Cut comes out. I've seen more than a few people saying,
it's become
"Wait,
its
this
own
movie
separate thing.
is actually not bad." Yeah.
It's moved outside of the main line where it needs to be judged as part of Shazam or whatever. If people are just like, "Oh, hey, this is a different take," and now this is pretty cool because I've gotten all of the MCU, and now I get to enjoy something a little bit different. And now I'm actually starting to like what Zack was doing, and I love that. I love seeing people change their mind.
Yeah, and they should be allowed to. They should be.
And absolutely, they should be allowed to.
So let's hear from Paul. Paul, what do you think? And give us your unbridled thoughts. Obviously you're Captain Positivity, so we don't expect any different.
Yeah, no. I mean, I understand it. I didn't like that bloggers are being given access early, but I understand the need for it. And initially, I felt relieved, I guess, by some of the names I saw that were getting access, people that were typically either open-minded or Snyder friendly. More recently, you see known haters like Jeremy Conrad or a charlatan like Daniel RPK, hinting that he got one, or I don't know if he outright said he got one. Seen a few randoms on Twitter kind of hinting or claiming that they got access to one, so that's kind of weird. But as long as this is contained to the right group of bloggers, I'm okay with it. Other than that, I think you guys have covered it pretty thoroughly. There's not a ton more to say, but I do believe that the the environment's going to be a little more receptive to it, like you guys were just talking about. I think Zack Snyder himself is a little better understood now and maybe seen as a more sympathetic and likable character now. So that helps too, because a lot of times people will decide how they feel about a movie before they even see it based on their preconceived notions about the people behind the movie, at least, film fans, right? So I think that's going to help. And you got to get some good word of mouth out there, and hopefully that's what we're going to get. So that's my thoughts on the blog piece.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. I don't need to add any more to it. So let's bring this home. All right. So we're talking about bloggers, getting, advanced access, and, I like that you guys engage that conversation with nuance. It is what it is, as long as I really like Brandon, merging both sides. It's about the people who get it. It's about, rewarding, but at the same time, still getting the word of mouth out. But for this, I think we're experiencing a situation where fans are getting more access than ever before. I don't really know about stuff like, WandaVision or stuff like The Boys or, any other fandoms and how they've treated their core fans, but a lot of virtual premiere invites have gone out to fans. For one, on the DC community website, there's an ongoing competition, and I think the prize, one of the prize tiers, is I think it's up to 200 virtual premiere invites could be won. And then obviously individually, we've seen it proliferated amongst a lot of people in the fandom, and that has caused quite a bit of consternation. It has caused a bit of controversy. It's been quite divisive, and let me start with the commentary on this. It really disheartened me as someone who's been in this fandom for over, I think I've been very active for about 5 years. I've been in this fandom since maybe 2013, just observing. Because when this fandom really came together and started to have a voice was about 2016 during, the BVS wars. And it was a very loosely tied collection of just rabble-rousers who were just trying to survive and make sure that what they liked was just left alone. Stop hating us, stop trying to destroy what we love, just trying to defend our turf. But one thing that was very very apparent was that no matter who you were in the fandom, we were there for each other. It was us against the world, particularly us against bloggers. That was more of the mantra, but us against the world. And lately, I've started to see a situation where we're having fans against fans, a group of fans attacking another group of fans, and another group of fans attacking another group of fans. And we even have this situation that has occurred several times, and it's beginning to be a recurring theme, where bloggers would attack a group of fans. That's happened since 2016. That ain't nothing new. But then a group of fans will take up with those bloggers to attack the fans. That has been so heartbreaking to me, and has made me reassess a lot of things, and has made me, to be honest, quite honest, come to a crisis of faith in the fandom. It's the first time in the fandom that I've seen the fandom as actually toxic, a toxic place. Because before, when people called us toxic, it's like someone outside of your family saying that they hate your family. We don't care what you say. You can call us whatever you want. We don't care. But when it comes to the point where people inside the family are fighting against each other, that's when it's truly toxic, objectively so. And that has been heartbreaking for me. And this virtual premiere incident brought that to light, because we had a situation where the virtual premiere invites became weaponized. People stay using it to brag. People stay using it to legitimize their side and their friends, and we're the good people because we got this reward. And that is very unwise to me. That has been a huge disappointment to me. To me, the first thing that I come to think of is there is absolutely no reason to put out that you got a virtual premiere invite on the timeline. For what reason are you doing that? There's just none apart from bragging. And the only consequence that really has is that it makes people feel envious, it makes people feel jealous, it makes people feel undervalued, underappreciated. There are many people in this fandom that in their own different ways have contributed so much, have, spammed the hashtag, all day, being at work and slacking off at work to make sure that they're making the hashtag go viral, retweeting things that a lot of people do, signal boosting, defending people from trolls, holding bloggers and naysayers accountable for their words. They've put in a lot of work. And for them, not to be rewarded, while some others are rewarded, it has to be disheartening for them, no matter how you cut it. And so I feel it was very unwise for anyone, to, celebrate and say, oh, I got an invite. Oh, I'm so happy it's been, and unfortunately, this trend started with a particular group of the fandom, and this seems to be their MO. They're a group of people who it's about clout, it's about bragging, about association. It's always about how great they are, how good they are. And that really, really, really did upset me. And as I said, it really brought me to a crisis of faith. And at this moment, I don't see the fandom like it used to be. And I've been taking time to think of what my involvement is going to be going forward, where I'm going to be in relationship with the fandom. It might be a brief temporary crisis of faith and disillusionment, or it might be a permanent one. We will see. But I think that the virtual premiere invites, I think on the surface it's a good idea, but I would have preferred that none were given to any fans, or it would have been a completely random draw. That I think would have been the best thing possible. So you guys, what is your analysis of this part of the marketing? I know it was probably a way for Zack Snyder and the group at HBO Max to reward fans, for their involvement in this, treat them as, as associate producers, executive producers. But do you guys agree with me that it backfired a little bit? How do you think it should have been handled? Or do you think that, it's all good and, could have been avoided? So let's start with Paul in this one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Lupe. I was disheartened by it, to be quite honest, especially the way it started to I guess permeate, the news started to permeate the fandom with these screen captures of their virtual invites. And these virtual invites were emailed to people, right? So
yes.
This isn't from this isn't HBO monitoring Twitter to see who's been, most vocal. This is somebody has given HBO Max a list of email addresses and said, these are the people that need to be invited. And I mean, I'm not in the inner circle. I don't know, but I'm going to guess that, Zach probably reached out to his, little circle of the fandom that he's in contact with and said, who deserves to go? And of course, like you said, one side of the fandom was very quick to show off their invitations. And, not to devalue the contributions any of those people have made, because, I mean, they've all been faces of the fandom. But there's a lot of people that are not faces of the fandom that have put in that work every single day for the past 4 years. We're never afraid to use the hashtag. We're there all day, every day, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them didn't get invitations, and that must be incredibly disheartening. So me personally, if I was in that position where I was lucky enough to receive one, I would not have been out bragging about that, because I know there's a lot of people that work just as hard or harder and didn't get one. And I think it creates a class structure within the fandom that really I find revolting. I mean, that's what I liked about the RT SnyderCut account. The fact that the account was anonymous, the fact that everyone was supposed to be equal.
whether you were an organizer or just a contributor or just someone that was signal boosting, we were all in this together. We were all equal. And I think this virtual premiere and the bragging about invitations just completely goes against the spirit of that. So it made me feel sick to my stomach. And, you know, I had said to you guys a couple of days before this, I said, I think it might be time for me to check out a Twitter, because I have a feeling that the next 2 weeks is going to be one big circle jerk of self-promotion. And sure enough, 2 days later, we see all these, these screen captures being posted, people celebrating, and then people using it to validate their own side and belittle, and in some cases belittle the people that were upset they didn't get one, right? And now when some of those people are getting them, now they're like, oh, well, now you want it? Like, but, you know, screen, again, it's the same shit I absolutely can't stand about this fandom. The screen capturing, the quote tweeting to ridicule people, the very thinly veiled snide comments to incite pylons, again, to belittle and ridicule people. And these are all from people that are all about mental health and AFSP, yet here they are inciting ridicule of others, like a group ridicule, which is absolutely not good for mental health. So I don't know, it just sickened me, to be quite honest. So I will leave it at that, but I'm very much not a fan of the virtual premiere for fans, and the only way I could have seen this working is if it was entirely random, which it's clearly not. These are handpicked by the chosen few, and the people that got them are the people that have made a point of getting themselves close to the chosen few. So not a fan, and I will pass it on to the next person to share their opinion on this.
All right, Brandon. I think Brandon, be good for us to hear your voice on this.
So I mean, it was obviously done with the best intentions, because this movie was won by the fans, so we did deserve the right to see it early. But how do you go through a pool of, let's just base it on RTSC's follower count? How do you go through a pool of 33,000 people and say these are the ones that get to go? It all boils down to it, as what happens most of the time is once it gets into the wrong hands, people use it for, like you said, clout, and it should have just been a private thing. Like, hey, you know, a certain selection of fans from within your group has seen it, and they'll reveal themselves after they've seen the movie, and then there's no animosity. Then they know, okay, some people are being rewarded, and we're going to get to hear about it before we finally see it. We're going to get to hear about it from our peers and not just the bloggers. That's cool. But yeah, it just became a pissing contest. We got one, you didn't. Here's my image. And it's just, it shouldn't have been that way, because people shouldn't feel like they were left out. I do think that the people that planned a lot of these events and really did the hard work, I mean, I don't know, hard work does pay off. I think some people may have earned it more, but that doesn't mean the people at the bottom didn't work their asses off too, to the best of their extent. So I do think the fan screening is good. I think it's got the right intention, and then it hit the fan, and some people twisted it into something that it shouldn't have been. It should have been a celebratory moment. And it still can be, but I didn't do what I did for recognition or to get ahead of anybody. If I didn't get one, I'm cool waiting till the 18th and watching it, because that's what I fought for. We get to watch it on the 18th because we won. And technically we're seeing it a week early because it was supposed to be out on the 25th. But
and also
that's the way I look.
I mean, just to buttress what you're saying, it's only 3 days.
Yeah.
It's like it's a measly 3 days, but
it's the symbolism.
Exactly. Just like coronavirus, human beings find a way to politicize everything, to make everything about, you know, my side versus your side, a me thing. And you know, Wonder Woman was right in Batman v Superman when she said, man made a world where standing together is impossible. And Christian, you know, you're, you know, not as into the fandom, you know, you're looking at us from the outside in. That's a very, very good perspective to have. You can see the forest for the trees. What do you think of this whole episode?
I think you know, all of you have brought up good points. Like, just like, you know, what blogger gets a chance to see it first, what blogger gets an early screening. How do you choose that? And I do think that it was done with the best of intentions. I do think it was, hey, this is how we can be celebratory towards the fans. And then, but how do you choose? And no matter what you do, it doesn't matter. Someone will feel left out. No matter what you do, someone will feel left out. But one of the negative repercussions, especially because perception is everything. So it doesn't really matter what you or I or Brandon or Paul think. It's the perception. That's all that matters, because perception becomes reality. And one of the things I'm seeing in some of my groups is this commentary of, see, I told you they'd eat each other. Like, I'm starting to see that. And it's like, guys, do you understand what they fought for? Like, they're not just eating each other at this point. You know what I mean? Like, they fought for something. There's another group that it seems like they're using it, they're weaponizing it, which that's what we do. Like you just mentioned with COVID, we've weaponized COVID and everything like that. We've weaponized the response to COVID. All this stuff becomes weaponized. And that's the sad thing. I think the only fair way to do it would be to Thanos it and snap your fingers and say, well, right? I have no idea who's going to get it. All 33,000 of you in the RTSC account, whatever, you guys are all in this lottery, and it's going to be 50-50, and I have no idea who gets it. And that's probably either that or just don't do it. Because and if you didn't do it, what Brandon said is correct. You guys still won, because on March 18th, you're still getting it, and you're getting way more than what you thought you were going to get. Paul has said 50 times in this podcast that he would have been fine watching Ray Fisher running around in his suit. The digital suit with the bubbles on it, and he would have been okay with that. So you're getting $100 million or whatever it is on top of that. So it's so unfortunate that it went down this path. And it's like, you guys have talked about, defending one another against like the toxicity comments and stuff like that. Like, that kind of stuff doesn't help. You might not care about the outside world and how they see you, but I'm just saying that kind of stuff doesn't help, because then they turn around and be like, see, I told you, that's what they do to one another, a bunch of jerks. And I'm seeing some of those conversations happening now. And that's unfortunate, because everybody that I know that are my friends in the movement, they ain't like that. They're not like that. But, again, perception's reality.
And as I said, wrapping this up, for me, I've never cared about what others think that we are. I've only cared about this fandom, the integrity of the fandom, the health of the fandom, and people, taking not necessarily glee, but commenting on the fact that now we're such a warring tribe that now we've turned on ourselves and are eating ourselves on the inside. That is disheartening to me. And
I want to be clear that it's not like a majority, but dude, I'm seeing it happen, and it's sad.
Yeah. Even if it's just a few people who mention that, because it's absolutely the truth. Like, I've observed it, and I've even thought that maybe the reason why we're going against each other is because we're a warrior tribe. Like, this is not a fandom that was just born out of, we love this stuff, so out of like happiness. This is a fandom that was born out of like pain and fire. And
the fandom was born out of an us against them mentality. So
whoever started this fandom were people who had the appetite for a fight. That's the truth. Like, there are a lot of people that I'll tell you guys, like, off camera when we get a chance. There are a lot of people that you see in this fandom today that are quite quiet and quite chill, who were the most toxic people in the world. If you saw my timeline during the BBS Wars days, you'd be like, Lupe, this is not you. That's where we all came from. So fighting and being warriors, that's within our blood. So it's a little bit of karma, but we'll see where we go from here in the future. The shining light at the end of the tunnel, the rainbow, across the sky, is that the Snyder Cut is going to be with us in mere days. Every single thing that we fought for is right at our fingertips. And so that brings to an end episode 4 of Countdown to the Snyder Cut. We will have a 5th episode, which will be our final one, and that one will be more focused on the material and more on speculation, especially just looking out towards the Snyderverse, where we want things to go and where we see things going from here. And so yeah, let's say our goodbyes to our lovely audience. Thank you very much for hanging in there with us. If you made it all the way to the end of this episode, guys, what emoji should we have for this one? We talked about marketing and promo. What do you guys think? I think a ticket. Would a ticket be nice?
I'd say a ticket or a Joker card.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. How about
like
that? How about this? Okay. Let's make this more complicated than it should be. So if you're happy with the marketing and optimistic about everything that you've heard, including like the invites and bloggers getting access, give us a ticket. And if you're a bit more, a bit more like me, I'm a little bit heartbroken from some of the things I've seen. And while this is supposed to be a time of celebration, there's a little bit of heartbreak I'm going through that I have to, address. Give us a Joker card. And let's see where that goes. All right, so let's say goodbye to the people. Let's start with Christian.
It was fun tonight, guys. Thanks a lot, and it was good to go down this journey. Hey, everybody, hit me up if you want to reach me. It's both on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at the same place. I'm at chart6363.
Very cool. All right, Brandon.
You can find me at _meatball_84. Just counting down the last few days until we officially celebrate our victory.
Very cool. And Paul.
As always, you can find me on Twitter at _Paul_P.
Very cool. And I've been yours truly, Lupe. You can find me on Twitter at LiveLoveLupe. You can also find me on the various social media app at LiveLoveLupe. And we have been yours, the Film Exiles, banished to the wastelands for our hot takes. You can find us on Twitter at The Film Exiles. You can also find us on Vero at The Film Exiles. Thank you very much for listening. Go out into the world. Stay safe. All right. The Snyder Cut is soon coming. You must be alive. Survive. And then after you've seen it, you have my permission to die. And stay exiled.